Have you ever thought about how Hindutva has changed from a cultural revival to a political belief? Hindutva has a rich and interesting history in India. It was once a cultural movement, deeply connected to the traditions of Indian society. Its goal was to bring back and protect the uniqueness of Hindu culture from outside influences. But as time passed, Hindutva transformed. It became more than just a cultural movement. It started to play a big part in Indian politics, shaping its direction. This change didn't happen overnight. It was a journey full of surprises and complexity. So get ready as we take a trip back in time to understand better how Hindutva has changed. Stay with us as we dig deeper into the exciting story of Hindutva. Step back into the late 1800s when Hindutva was born. It wasn't just a happy accident. It was a time when a lot was changing in India. People were starting to think of themselves as Indian, not just subjects of British rule. Hindutva was about bringing back the old Indian ways, which had been pushed aside because of so many years under British control. This idea didn't just come out of nowhere. It was a reaction to what was happening in society and politics, and a way to protect the Indian way of doing things. Important people from the late 1800s were key to getting Hindutva started. Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, a freedom fighter and social reformer, is often thought of as the father of Hindutva. His famous book, First War of Indian Independence, inspired a lot of people to feel proud of being Indian. Savarkar Hindutva as more than just a religious idea. For him, it was about all the different parts of Indian society coming together as one. His goal was for all Hindus to see themselves as part of the same group, no matter their caste, beliefs, or where came from. Savarkar wasn't the only one towards this. Bal Gangadhar Tilak, another major figure in the fight for Indian independence, also played a big part in shaping Hindutva. His famous saying, "Swaraj is my birthright, and I shall have it," really motivated people. Tilak saw Hindu festivals as a way to bring people together and get them involved in politics, helped Hindutva grow. In the early 1900s, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, also known as the RSS, was established. This group, founded by Keshav Baliram Hedgewar, was a way to bring the Hindu community together. So, Hindutva was starting to grow, but it was just the start. The late 1800s and early 1900s saw the start of Hindutva, which went on to change how people thought about culture and politics in India. The story of Hindutva, from a cultural movement to a political idea, was just getting started. Moving into the early 1900s, the concept of Hindutva started to become clearer as a cultural renewal. This time marked a big change in how people saw Hindutva, changing from a foggy idea to a clear cultural movement. In the effort to bring back and celebrate their culture, many movements and people rose to the top. The main goal of this renewal was to bring back the greatness of old India, when the region was known for its knowledge, culture and civilization. One key person in this change was Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. He thought of Hindutva not as a religious identity, but as a cultural and nationalistic identity. Savarkar's Hindutva included all those who thought of India as their homeland. This was a big change from the previous religious meaning it held. The early 1900s also saw the growth of groups like the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh and the Hindu Mahasabha. These groups wanted to bring the Hindu community together under one common cultural and nationalistic flag. What they did and believed played a key part in defining and spreading the ideas of Hindutva across the country. In addition, time of cultural renewal of Hindutva focused more on education and the promotion of the Sanskrit language. This was seen as a way to reconnect with the ancient culture and knowledge of the Indian region. It's key to note that this cultural renewal wasn't without its own problems. Some people accused the movement of causing separation and intolerance. However, supporters argued that it was a necessary reaction to keep and advance a unique cultural identity against foreign influences and internal divisions. By the middle of the 1900s, Hindutva had changed from a loosely defined idea to a solid cultural movement. It had made a place for itself in India's culture, influencing the culture, society, and politics of the time. Hindutva was now a power to be reckoned with, but its path was far from finished. Let's take a quick jump to India after it won its independence. Hindutva, a cultural movement, started to change. It began to become a political belief, influencing the plans and approaches of many political parties. This change didn't happen all of a sudden. It was slow, changed by important events and people in India's history after independence. One major event was when India was split into two in 1947. This caused a rush among the supporters of Hindutva. They wanted to protect the Hindu way of life during the chaos and population changes. After independence, many political groups started to use Hindutva as a key part of their beliefs. Parties like the Bharatiya Jana Sangh and later the Bharatiya Janata Party came to the front, carrying the banner of Hindutva in politics. They used this belief to gain support, mainly from those who felt threatened by the changing culture and religions in India. Important also helped this change. Leaders like Syama Prasad Mukherjee and Deen Dayal Upadhyaya helped shape the political story of Hindutva. They said that India's identity was closely tied to its Hindu roots, and this idea should guide the country's plans and leadership. The Ayodhya dispute, a big political and religious fight in the late 20th century, further made Hindutva a political belief. The campaign for a Ram temple at the disputed site was not just about religion, but also about showing Hindu identity and political power. This issue rallied millions to the Hindutva cause, showing its power as a political tool. The rise of Narendra Modi as a national leader in the early 21st century marked another key moment. His becoming the Prime Minister in 2014 made Hindutva a mainstream political topic like never before. His party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, has consistently used Hindutva to get support and win elections. But it's important to understand that changing Hindutva into a political belief has been a tough journey. Critics say it has ignored minority communities and created an environment of intolerance. Supporters, however, think it has given a voice to the majority and helped save the country's cultural heritage. This change of Hindutva from a cultural movement to a political belief has greatly influenced India's political scene. It has shaped election plans, policy decisions, and the national conversation. It has also started discussions about secularism, nationalism, and identity in India today. Hindutva had now become a political belief, which is a big step in its growth. Today, Hindutva plays a big role in Indian politics. It has a lot of influence, shaping the politics of the country and being talked about in high places. It's not just a way of thinking about politics. Hindutva is also a big part of Indian society. It has the ability to change and fit into different situations. It started as a movement to bring back culture, and now it's a strong political belief guiding big decisions and controlling national conversations. But it's not been without issues. Its growth has started strong discussions about what it means to be Indian and the place of religion in politics. Some people say that its focus on a single Hindu identity can exclude other groups, while others think it's a needed reaction to threats to Hindu culture. These different opinions show how complicated and many-sided Hindutva is. It's not just a political belief or a social movement, it's a way many Indians look at their world. Moreover, Hindutva today is not just one thing. It can be seen in different ways, each with its own details. Some see it as a tool for politics, some as a cultural duty, and some as a spiritual journey. In the end, the effect of Hindutva on Indian society and politics can't be ignored. It has shaped and continues to shape the country's discussions, standing at the point where tradition and modern times, religion and politics, unity and diversity meet. It shows how and political movements in India can change, reflecting the country's complicated history and its varied, always changing cultural scene. As we think about the future, we'll continue to discuss and debate the role and influence of Hindutva. The journey of Hindutva, from a culture movement to a political belief, shows the changing nature of social and political movements in India. Until we meet again, Stay interested and keep learning.